kuram bisan wa jangama kuram bisan ya matrenelo Yandem marong yandem jai kai wai yandem marong suma yandem marong kai wai kuram bisan wa jangama mernala big wajal sumanje ke na set yo ya maton yen kilime na fonye bang fan tv yen kilime na fonye bang fan tv yen kilime na fonye bang gasiti kadomo wallahi yen kilime na fonye bang yen kilime na fonye bang gasiti kadomo de wallahi gasiti kadomo fan tv yen kilime na fonye.
I am indeed honored to stand before you this morning. But before I proceed, I want us to all say, together we build a resilient Africa. Can you repeat? Together we build a resilient Africa. I think basically that's the reason why we are here as Africans, as Gambians. We want to ensure we have a resilient society, and that cannot be done in the absence of this important people, that is the young people of Africa. Our distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, at this juncture, I wish to recognize our members on the high table in absentia. We expect the Honorable Speaker, or Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Sidi Njai, who promised that he will join very soon. The Executive Director of the National Disaster Management Agency, Mr. Dahaba, also is on his way. UNDRR, the United Nations Office for Disaster Risk Reduction, Africa Chief, is online, and sir, you are welcome. UN Resident Coordinator also should join us. Our distinguished delegates, Dr. Omar, my very good friend, your driver is around. I recognize you present with us. Madam Ruth Kamala, sorry if I pronounce it wrongly. We recognize you in the midst. Our distinguished participants, our able lecturers from the university, we recognize you, sir. Media, all protocols duly and respectfully observed. It is indeed a pleasure to associate myself with this important convergence of Regional Conference of Youth West Africa 2024. The initiative is organized by the African Youth Advisory Board under the African Union Commission in collaboration with the UNDRR and the National Disaster Management Agency, the Gambia. The purpose of this gathering, essentially, is to empower youths of Africa in addressing key disaster risk reduction and climate change issues in the continent. Climate crises continue to negatively affect sustainable development. The frequency and intensity of climate-related disasters like floods are negatively impacting on people and the environment. Disaster is a threat to lives and livelihood, and this common enemy needs a comprehensive and in-depth understanding of factors influencing, especially in Africa. Without much ado, I sincerely want to invite UNDRR Africa Chief to kindly deliver his statement.
Welcome to everybody. My name is Amjad Bashar. I'm the Regional Director for the UN Office for Disaster Risk Reduction. Let me just begin by welcoming, and I hope they're there, the Honorable Sidi Njai, the Deputy Speaker for the National Assembly of the Gambia, and Mr. Sana Dahaba, the Executive Director, National Disaster Management Agency, and hopefully also Mr. Carl Frederick Paul, the head of the UN Resident Coordinator to the Gambia. So on behalf of the United Nations Office for Disaster Risk Reduction, I'm honored to join you all here today for the first regional conference on youth on disaster risk reduction in West Africa 2024. As we all know, climate change and its associated risk is having devastating consequences around the world and in West Africa. We see this reflected in complex ways where many communities live with the combined impacts of disaster events, environmental degradation, climate change, and conflict. The recent floods in West and Central Africa have affected 4 million people, and these realities serve as a stark reminder of the growing risk faced by sub-Saharan African countries as a whole. In West Africa specifically, we know that achieving the Sustainable Development Goals is not where it should be, and also youth are often left behind. However, there is hope. We at UNDRR firmly believe in the power of youth to drive positive change. This conference, organized by the African Youth Advisory Board under the African Union Commission, with our collaboration and that of the National Disaster Management Agency of the Gambia, it really underlines this belief. We acknowledge the capacity of youth to influence decision-making processes on behalf of their communities, and also their ability to communicate and bring meaningful change in behavior and attitudes. So UNDR supports and will continue to harness the energy and motivation of youth to find solutions to risk and participate in disaster risk reduction for enhanced resilience. And this will be aligned with the UN strategy, I quote, Youth 2030, working with and for young people. We believe that youth must have the capacity to engage in building resilience and reduce disasters. We are convinced that youth are vital agents for change and for driving innovation and innovative communication to enhance the implementation of the Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction. We also believe that disaster risk reduction should be child responsive, focusing on the specific risks that children and youth face, as well as involving children in efforts and initiatives to reduce disaster risk. Children have unique needs, and it's important that the entire disaster management cycle is child sensitive and child responsive. So solutions must be holistic, they must be inclusive, and consider also boys and girls' exposure and coping capacities to make them less vulnerable. They must address underlying risk drivers like climate change, poverty, stigma, and gender discrimination. And we must encompass the voices of young people in the design of these activities. So as the climate crisis escalates, decisions taken by future policymakers, engineers, business owners, community leaders, and every household must be based on understanding of disaster risk. It is vital that this understanding starts with children and youth, so youth are also best equipped for the future. We must enable young people to achieve their full potential, reduce vulnerabilities, and lay the foundations for resilient societies today and into the future. So for that reason, UNDRR promotes safe, equitable, and continuous access to quality education, including through the mainstreaming of disaster risk reduction actions in school curricula. And we all support and endorse the role of youth in disaster risk reduction across Africa. So UNDRR will stand alongside the African Union, the African Youth Advisory Board, and will support all your endeavors over the next 2 days and moving forward, of course. We are dedicated to engaging youth in the development and implementation of effective policies for disaster risk reduction and climate action, and also for providing opportunities to enhance your skills and knowledge and amplifying your voices on international platforms. So this conference is an opportunity to showcase your leadership, creativity, and commitment to a more resilient future. We hope it is used to help build a stronger, more unified West Africa that is prepared to face the challenges of climate change. In conclusion, I would like to just recommit and reiterate my office's support to ensure that the outcomes of this conference are promoted in key disaster risk reduction forums, not only in Africa, but at the global level. I thank you for the opportunity.
Ruth to make a statement at this important. Yes, please.
State Advisory Board on Disaster Risk Reduction. I come from Zimbabwe. It was a long trip to get here, but worth it. I've seen the smiling cause for really in Africa, and I appreciate the welcome. And above all, we also want to commend the support by the National Disaster Management Agency and the UNDRR in ensuring that this initiative is a success. During our term as the Africa Youth Advisory Board, this is the first regional activity that we've had, and we are proud to say this is not going to be the last. So we invite all partners to also partner with us even on different platforms to ensure the success of our initiatives. As the previous speaker alluded to also, the role of youth in disaster risk reduction has to be imperative and also comply and implore that all member states also appreciate our role and support us just as how they have supported our member Modu. We are very proud and happy and grateful for the Gambia government for the support accorded to us. So basically where we are here, the main outcome is going to be the Bandung Declaration. This is whereby we're taking recommendations from the youth in West Africa and taking them and tabling them to the authorities so that we take into consideration the contributions of youth, because we do not want to be seen only when it's time to come and provide aid. We also want to influence policy. We also want to be able to participate in such platforms and also be able to design interventions around new technologies, GIS, and all others. So I'm grateful for this opportunity, and I'm going to elaborate more on the board. But basically, it's a 15-member board that has been established under the African Union Commission, and we're representing all African youth in disaster risk reduction. And more of our activities, I'm going to elaborate them on our first session, because we've already done more activities around Africa in different countries such as Morocco, Egypt, Zimbabwe, and DRC. So I hope that this is going to be an engaging 2 days. And I also want to implore you to please add your recommendations. Please give us your feedback so that when we program further, we're able to appreciate your additions and also improve as the youth board. Thank you very much.
With these speeches, I really want to seize this opportunity on behalf of the National Disaster Management to convey our appreciation to all of you for coming and honoring our invitation. We hope that this 2 days interface will be a productive one for the and it will also open the window or door for the involvement of young people in disaster risk reduction. With this remark, I want us to move into the presentations. I think the first presenter in the program will be Madam Ruth herself, who will give us the expectation of the regional conference. Madam, please, the floor is yours.
We were established by the African Union Commission with support of the European Union, and it's a 15-member board, as I earlier elaborated on, with basis mainly on advocacy and also as an advisory board to member states. So our role involves participating in negotiations, participating in policy formulation, and also coming up with the youth lens in all the interactions that we have. So our representation basically is around us representing the interests of the youth, and this demands that we continuously engage with our fellow youth so that we're able to provide a holistic summation of our interests as youth. So basically, our role is to contribute to disaster preparedness and recovery efforts, enhancing resilience and reducing the impact of disasters in the African context. As our Master of Ceremonies alluded to, we want to build a resilient Africa. We do not want abundance of resources to end with us. We do not want also to be negatively affected by these disasters. Then we also want to empower young individuals by providing them with knowledge and skills necessary to contribute to disaster risk reduction. Sometimes our lack of participation as youth is not necessarily because we're not interested, but we're not being included in these platforms whereby we're able to know what really we're dealing with and also how best to mitigate these challenges before us. So basically, our mission is to be an inclusive, open and transparent platform for African youth to engage in regional and continental disaster risk reduction, policy design, implementation, follow-up, and review. And this is the basis of what we do. So our priorities are informed by the Sendai framework, which I understand all of us have an appreciation of. And our priorities around community action, understanding disaster risk, strengthening disaster governance, investing in disaster risk reduction, and also enhancing disaster preparedness of our continent. I hope you also appreciate how these effects of the disasters tend to be a challenge with us, with also the issue of around limited resources. And also our desire is to ensure that we build back better in also appreciating our context, our sovereignty, and also the rich diversity of our indigenous knowledge systems as a continent. So we also have been able to participate in different platforms such as research programs. We are also always in communication with different partners, and in these we've also been able to establish and implement different projects. In Egypt, we successfully implemented the human trafficking in GRR, a cost-cutting link to the Sustainable Development Goals. And also in Namibia, we are also establishing a database on youth GRR organizations. So this is also something we want to cascade to other regions so that we appreciate what different youth organizations are doing and try to empower each other so that we build a voice and we build a movement around disaster risk reduction. We also held a National Youth Symposium on GRR in Zimbabwe. This is whereby we were able to establish the first ever youth desk on disaster risk reduction for our continent. And we hope that these activities also have a ripple effect and are also implemented in other countries. We also are doing community and organization capacity workshops, with the first being in DR Congo and also the other in Benin. And then for our 2024, as we wrap up the year, our biggest activity is currently this one. The Regional Conference of Youth West Africa is facilitated by our board member, Modu. So now we're just going to have a brief appreciation of why we're here. So we want to come up with the biggest outcome being the Banjul Declaration. This is a summation of our recommendations based on our experiences for the West Africa region and also what we think works best. Because we are saying the solutions are coming from the people, we are not going to be able to prescribe if we do not consult. So on this, we are going to make sure that we facilitate for conversations around raising awareness. We are also going to facilitate for conversations around consultation, because in as much as we are the youth and we have energy, sometimes we direct it in the wrong way. So we need guidance from our elders on how best to ensure that we are successfully implementing these interventions. Also, the support from the government in Gambia for this intervention is also a good sign around us being recognized in Africa as a pivotal component, participant, stakeholder in all their preparations. And so the hope is that our declaration is going to be sent to the AUC. So it has to be actionable. We want things that are practical. We also want things that we can also follow up on. Like we say that this is the first regional activity. The intention is to repeat this every year on an annual basis. And so even after this session, we also have the opportunity to select the country that is going to host us next. But we will never take away the credit of Gambia being the first, and that is something we are proud of. So our main priority is to raise awareness. Our main priority is to empower the youth. Our main priority is to foster collaboration. And we also have findings from COP, which we're also going to influence, because we really cannot divorce climate change, disaster risk reduction. And we also want to understand the concept around financing, disaster risk financing, beyond member states and also as a continent. So hopefully this opportunity is going to accord for networking also. I hope I heard there are professors and lecturers here. So when I now come to apply for studies here, please smile and say welcome home. So beyond that, I think my mandate here to set the scene has been done. I would give this opportunity to anyone who possibly might have a question around what IAPJRR is doing, that's Africa Youth Advisory Board, and also any questions around the deliverables for today. Thank you.
Added some little hours ago, minutes ago, but we recognize your presence with us. And then I want to seize this opportunity to invite you to deliver your keynote address.
Chairperson or president of this organization, my dear brother and friend, invited guests from the African Union, the UN Resident Coordinator's Office, youths represented here, members of the media, and all other protocols respectfully observed. Good morning to all of you. I would like to begin by acknowledging that it is my profound honor and privilege to address this distinguished gathering of young people on disaster risk reduction in West Africa. This conference comes at a crucial moment when our region faces escalating risk from climate change, environmental degradation, and natural disasters. These challenges threaten lives, livelihoods, and our shared future. However, this gathering also reflects our collective resolve and shared commitment to addressing these pressing issues collaboratively and strategically. It is through forums like this that we recognize the transformative role of young people in disaster risk reduction. Your energy, creativity, and determinations are essential in building resilient communities and fostering innovation solutions to mitigate the impacts of disasters. This conference is more than just a platform for discussion. It is a call to action, a reminder of the responsibility we all share to protect our region and ensure a sustainable future for generations to come. The theme, Building Back Better, the role of youth in disaster mitigation access across West Africa, unquote, underscores the critical importance of harnessing the potential of young people in shaping a more resilient future. As a region, we are no strangers to the devastating impacts of disasters. Floods, droughts, deforestation, and urban vulnerability have significantly disrupted lives, economies, and ecosystems. The imperative to recover and rebuild stronger while empowering our youth to lead these efforts has never been more urgent. Disaster risk reduction, DRR, is a cornerstone of sustainable development. It ensures that our communities are prepared to mitigate and respond to disasters, while fostering recovery pathways that restore not only physical infrastructure, but also social cohesion and economic stability. Young people, who make up about 60% of West Africa's population, are the ones who should drive these efforts by all means. Their energy, innovation, and adaptability are indispensable in developing community-based solutions, utilizing technology to predict and manage risk and advocating for climate resilience across the sub-Saharan Africa. On a personal note, I see this conference as an important platform for empowering youth to take on leadership roles in disaster mitigation. The Gambia's own experiences with climate-related challenges have taught us that inclusive approaches are essential for building resilient communities. Our National Assembly is committed to enacting policies and laws that prioritize youth involvement in disaster preparedness and mitigation, ensuring that they have access to the resources and platform needed to make meaningful contributions. Around the world, we have seen inspiring examples of youth-led efforts in disaster response and recovery. In 2019, for example, we have seen how the unprecedented efforts of young volunteers in Mozambique were instrumental in rebuilding communities following Cyclone Idai, one of the deadliest tropical cyclones recorded to have hit that country, along with Malawi and Zimbabwe. In Mozambique alone, over 1.3 million people were reported to have been affected. In Bangladesh, young people have harnessed technology to develop early warning systems that have saved countless lives during devastating floods. This innovation points to the power of youth-driven solutions in addressing the vulnerabilities faced by disaster-prone regions. We all know how places like Bangladesh are prone to recurring natural disasters. Yet, the proactive engagement of its youth have turned these challenges into opportunities for resilience. These examples serve as lessons to all of us to what young people can achieve when they are empowered to act. I firmly believe that the youth of West Africa can emulate and even surpass these successes if given the tools, training, and opportunities to lead. As we deliberate over the next 2 days, I urge every participant to approach these discussions with a spirit of collaboration and innovation. Let us commit to creating actionable solutions that not only address immediate risk, but also lay the groundwork for sustainable development and resilience. Distinguished guests, in conclusion, I wish to commend the Africa Youth Advisory Board on Disaster Risk Reduction and the African Union Commission for their visionary leadership in organizing this conference. I also extend my gratitude to all the participants who have gathered here with a shared determination to make a difference. Together, we can turn challenges into opportunities and build a future where West Africa is not only prepared to face disasters, but thrives in their aftermath. Thank you.
You hit the nail on the head. He mentioned a lot of important issues that I will find it difficult to lift, but importantly, he acknowledged the work of every stakeholder that invested in this program, which actually assure our country's commitment also in enhancing resilience. He cited the impact of disasters in Africa, Malawi, Mozambique, and he also highlighted the significant role played by young people in Indonesia and assured that when we give our young people the opportunity, they can even do more better. He also acknowledged that the National Assembly of the Republic of the Gambia will certainly provide the needed support to ensure that disaster risk reduction is given preference. With these few remarks, I want to once again thank you, Honorable Deputy Speaker, for honoring the invitation and joining us in this important occasion. This will also motivate the young people to be more committed and willing to serve our beloved nation. Thank you so much, Your Excellency, Honorable. I think moving forward, we are running out of time now, but I will appreciate if we can give chance to Madam Mbasi Sane to make her presentation, yes, which will be focused on a glance on the National Disaster Management Agency. This will set the scene for us to understand the Gambia perspective, and then also see how do we put efforts together, making sure that we align our national priority to the global, to the sub-regional priority, to the regional priorities, and then to the global priority. You are permitted, sir.